What's the best, worst line you've ever written in a first draft? So I'm writing up a first draft, and rereading what I'd written for a second had me rolling with laughter. The mountain spirit was a mountainous beast, standing as tall as the mountain behind it. I love tying descriptions into the narrative, and doing such a bad job just sent me for a bit. I can't possibly be the only one that feels this way about some of the things they write, so I ask, what is the best of your worst? He knew what needed to happen, so then he did that. She did the thing, just did the thing and then forgot about it. My worst? Like a bag full of bags, you're full of yourself. I think you misspelled my best. I have a very bad habit of writing at night when I'm extremely tired, so I always wake up to gems like this. My personal favorite was, she fell down the stairs, falling at the speed of a falling bowling ball. I truly am a master wordsmith. Just that previous night he had had a dream that was perhaps more of a nightmare, but a dream that he had loved nonetheless. I'm glad I didn't let anyone read this draft. He clutched the amputation knife with knuckles white, one eye bloodshot. His other eye was not there. 2-sentence horror story. The pistol hit him with a bullet, causing him to die. I guess guns kill people after all. How are you so fit? You never do any cardiovascular exercises, said the robot. Standing in front of it, Erica was able to take in the trashy majesty of Kyle's old pickup truck. Everyone who has read it has commented on trashy majesty. I kid you not, I legitimately wrote this opening line in high school. Still have the physical copy all these years later. I'm making it a family heirloom that will be passed down for generations. The 1,000-year war has gone on for a little under 1,000 years. That's it, that's the line. I wrote that once. Still amazed to this day when I read over it again. 15-year-old me was a literary genius, I'll tell you what. She shot him again to make sure he was as dead as her motivation to study. She was standing in darkness that was somehow still glowing. The bright-haired girl is jumping around theatrically, talking and making theatrical hand gestures. I have lost everything I once held dear, she proclaims theatrically, her wrist theatrically held against her forehead. Funny enough, I didn't even end up using the word theatrical a single time in my rewrite of the scene. The first one that comes to mind is biting my eyes shut. Needless to say, I was a little sleepy when I wrote that line. He said, "Arg!" and clutched his eyes, which hurt. I was glad I decided to read a scene aloud to a friend, because doing so let me catch this fine piece of work. Nodding, he nodded. The eagle looked and looked down at the other eagle-like creature. The eagle-like creature stared back at the eagle with its talon-like eyes as the eagle stared back with its sharp and golden gaze. The creatures, both with their eagle-like frames, stared intensely with great pride at their eagle brethren. From that time I had a stroke. The ground looked drier than overcooked chicken. Alexander's right hand steadied on his holster, the other making a calming gesture towards the figure floating in his hallway, while his free hand crept towards the doorknob. He grew an extra hand at some point, and certainly didn't inform me. Mine from not long ago. And without a sound, the door creaked open. My words cascading like water onto a hot summer sidewalk. A cat skitters by, each step a relief, cooling its paws from the hot summer sidewalk. I don't know if it's the repetition of the person or just whatever I thought I was doing with this character design, but here's my offering. All this to say that when the person who answered the door held a skull, he was more than a little taken aback. The person who opened the door, he noted with the detached horror that usually came in car accidents, was wearing a bright pink floral muumuu and matching bright pink Crocs. It was sleek and red, much too sporty for an insane asylum's car. He felt as weak as a tower made of wet paper. It was 4 a.m., and I don't even really know what I was going for. He didn't know what exactly it was, but taking a shower just felt so cleansing. You don't say. Perhaps it was for the best, perhaps it was for the worst, but one thing was certain. It was going to end up badly. If there was a god, it would have stopped me from writing by now. The man's hand exploded into flesh confetti. He licked the jam off his fork like a bloodthirsty demon killer. He was as selfish as a fish. There are 2 trees in front of my house. One is a date tree. The other one also is a date tree. It was good and it was bad that she had found out that she was being watched. Good because she knew, bad because they knew that she knew, but mostly good because at least she knew that they knew that she knew. One of the main characters woke up late for school at about 10 a.m. and for some reason I wrote, I'd finally arrived to the school. The sea of acne-covered and bubblegum chewing faces spiked my anxiety. With my heart beating like a war drum, I took in a couple of deep breaths, and just as I reached for the doorknob to my dreaded history class, the bells went off. It was time for lunch. Like, lunch is at 12? So I have a few that I liked. Tell me, do you believe that crabs think us weird for walking straight and not sideways like them? She waited patiently, her back against the rough tree bark, with the calm composure of a corpse. And the worst by far is this masterpiece. As they left the makeshift city, outside the city, behind the horizon, opened up to a green ocean. The crumb cake toppled piece by piece, like the bones of one of those crappy skeletons in a biology classroom. He has a WTF moment and leaves the room quickly. It smelled like it died again, before being killed to death. It was a moment like many moments I'd had, a moment where I had to change what needed to be changed right in the moment, except I couldn't. This time, I could actually change this moment. As I walked past the main reception, I raised his hand toward the scowling woman that sat behind the desk, an informal salute towards the unthanked warrior. He punched with immense strength, really hard.